Hi, I'm Elena Pakhoutova, Curator at the Rubin Museum of Art in New York. This week, we bring you short videos inspired by Tibetan medical tradition and a practical advice from Dr. Tawni Tidwell. We really hope that with these videos, we can all maintain balance and health in the time of this extreme stress. And our inspiration for today is the painting called The Tree of Health and Illness. Trees have been used to impart the knowledge of Tibetan medicine for generations and continue to be used so to this day. Two trunks of the tree signify very specific meanings. The left represents healthy physiology and the right various aspects of illness. The left trunk culminates in two flowers. One is a result of healthy life, long life and freedom from illness, and another results of spiritual accomplishment, wealth and happiness. The illustrations on the trunk of illness begins near the center of the painting, where three mental poisons are depicted according to Buddhist tradition, which are ignorance, hatred, and desire. This trunk also depicts more immediate causes and pathways of diseases, along with unwholesome foods and environments. And you will also notice very prominent colors such as blue, yellow, and white. These refer to three bodily forces which correspond to wind, bile, and phlegm. And now, perhaps we can get Dr. Tawni Tidwell give us some recommendations on how we can make our health flower.
Hi, my name is Tawni Tidwell. I'm a Tibetan medical physician. I'm also a researcher at the Center for Healthy Minds here in Madison, Wisconsin. And I'm really delighted to be here with all of you today in these very difficult times, especially when we're so concerned about all that's happening in our world and worried about our loved ones near and dear. So when we're in this kind of a situation, we can forget about some of the most important aspects of our self-care and our daily routines. So in the thangga that Elena just introduced to you, one of the key Tibetan medical principles is illustrated, and that's the fruits of balance in our health, and then the consequences when things are really out of balance. And I can imagine that a lot of you are feeling this as well, of just feeling like things are in chaos. So I'd like to take this opportunity to walk with you together and how we can remind ourselves of some of these self-care routines and introduce you to a few from Tibetan medicine. Our environments are in chaos. Things are in excess or deficiency or kind of out of control, and we are being exposed to certain things that are harmful to our bodies. So this is a highly condensed illustration of much of a more complex system, but I think it really helps us to remember the particular aspects that we need to think about in terms of self-care. And this is really important to us right now as we are looking at our mental well-being and how our mental well-being affects our physical well-being. So this is what we're really working on, helping calm the body through that heart center. So right now I'd like to invite you to join me in something that might not be as familiar, and that's one of our external therapies in Tibetan medicine that uses our sensory input to really create that calm and that warmth and nourishing feeling to help tell the body that it's okay, that it's safe. And that's what we call horme, or heated medicinal compress therapy. It's a type of fire therapy or moxibustion, which is really applying just heat to the body. And so I'd like you to join me in just exploring what are some of the things you have in your house that you could maybe even make one of these. So one of the things that I like to start out with is just a piece of cloth. This is cheesecloth. It's a fine weave, but it can be anything. It can be also just like a handkerchief that you have in your home. It can also be just a piece of linen. And you want to take that cloth and just go ahead and cut a nice square. And if it's really porous, then you might want to take 2 of those squares and put one on top of the other. So you have these 2 back to back. And then there's various herbs that we do use, but some of the herbs that are probably likely in your home, or at least a couple of them are in your home, I'm going to introduce you to. And so we'll take you over to our herbs. And these are the caraway and the nutmeg. And so the caraway is, you can use also cumin if you'd like, or the nutmeg separately or together. And they're really for helping to bring calm to the winds at the heart, so that's stress response. We also have cloves and green cardamom. If you have black cardamom, this is also excellent, and that's for helping immune response. We also have cinnamon, and cinnamon helps bring that heat to the central nervous system. And then we have nigella sativa, black sesame seed, dilnak, and that brings that warming oil that's specifically helpful for the lung. So coming back up. So it's helpful if they're not ground to go ahead and grind them. You can use a mortar and pestle if you'd like, or a grinder. And so for instance, for just the caraway, we put it in the base. First, going ahead and pressing down to break open the seeds, and then grinding in circular motions. If you have them already ground, that can be helpful because it's a lot easier to just make one on the fly. So I'm just going to take a little bit of nutmeg, this is already ground, and a little bit of caraway, also already roughly ground. I'm going to just put about a palm's worth right in the center of that cloth, and I'm going to put it down first, and then I'll hold it up for you to see. And so we just have it right in the center of that cloth. And then we're going to take the 4 corners and bring them up together so they're all met at one. And then we're going to take our hand and then just bind it and use a cotton string. I like to use the basting twine, and just bring up the end of that thread, and then you're just going to wind it around. I like to pull tight around the base so that none can move out. And you go ahead and keep that last string open so that at the very end you can tie it off. And you just keep pulling and winding, pulling and winding, pulling and winding. And then you take your scissors, that piece of string that was at the top, you can go ahead and tie it off. Ideally, you would move that string up so that you do more windings, and here's a finished product. And so the next thing that you need, you can do this on your stovetop. If you have a water boiling system, you can use that. If you have a slow cooker, you can use that, or just a simple tea light heater, such as this one. And so we go ahead and just light that little tea lamp. Place it in the bottom. And then we go ahead and use just a little bit of oil. Ideally, you would have some cold pressed, unrefined sesame oil. It brings in a little bit more heat for that heart center, but a neutral oil such as organic olive oil also works well. You can also use ghee, so that's clarified butter. And you just pour it in the top of that little heater, or if you are doing on the stovetop, just keep the heat really, really low. And then it's nice to have a bowl with just a cloth inside so that you can then express the oil. I'm gonna go ahead and soak that compress right in the oil and just let it heat up. And it can take time with the tea light version of it, but once it's nice and warm, you're gonna take it out of that oil. I'd leave it for at least 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the heat. You don't want it to be boiling, you definitely don't want it to burn, just a nice heat. Make sure that if it's the oil, you're not gonna burn your hand. It shouldn't be that hot. So once you express it, then again, we're gonna bring it to our heart center. So we just kind of bring it down and bring it to the heart center. You can bring it to the crown. Yes, you're putting a bundle on your head. So part of this is that central nervous system, right? So it's bringing that heat, that warmth. Will feel really reassuring. You can also put it on the spinal process that's most protruding. So this is on that 7th cervical vertebrae, right on the back. Also, it'll feel reassuring. You can do it on your hand palms and on your foot palms. So this is just to bring warmth into the body, to bring reassurance. You can do it up to 15 minutes. Sometimes if you have 2 different bundles, you'll be having one that's heating while the other one is applying. And the area of the skin might get a little pink. It should never ever get too hot. Hot enough to the touch just to have a warmth, but no burning. And this is really an opportunity to help bring that external sensory input of just warmth, of heat, right? And allowing the warmth and nourishment for your mind-body balance. And I'd like to invite you to leave comments below to continue the conversation, continue connecting after this. Thank you so much.